Chapter 171C of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, HRS, effectively abolish Public Land Development Corporation, HRS 171C4, subsection A, in part defines the powers of the Public Land Development Corporation. HRS 171C4, subsection C reads, C. The powers conferred herein shall be liberally construed to effect the purposes of this chapter. This resolution states that the people of the County of Hawaii realize the detrimental effect this would have on our land, ocean environment, and the avoidance of any of our zoning and subdivision laws, which HRS 171C may ignore, and that the people of this county have requested assistance from the Council of the County of Hawaii to support the repeal of HRS 171C. This resolution was introduced by Ms. Ford and approved by the Planning Dept.
Ms. Ford.
Move to approve resolution 303-12.
Second. Seconded by Mrs. Smart. Ms. Ford, you have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that I respect all of our senators, all of our representatives, and our governor. I don't want to cast aspersions on anyone. However, when this bill, Act 55, which is now HRS 171C, passed, I want to believe that the magnitude of the potential negative impacts was not truly understood by these individuals. We have a public trust law in the state regarding our land and water and several other things, and that public trust cannot be violated constitutionally. This particular HRS 171C strips all of the islands of home rule in its entirety. It's nice for someone to come up and tell us, oh, well, we're going to consult with your planning department or whatever. That means nothing. I can remember years before I ever got on the council, sitting in this room and listening to one of the council members at that time saying, we're going to do to Kona whatever is in the highest and best use of a particular piece of land. And we really don't care what anybody thinks about it. They actually said things like that. And the highest and best use was defined as what makes the most money in tax revenues. Well, Kona now is suffering from a whole lot of problems, and the rest of the island is going to suffer from these problems too. Just because you say we will consult with, or we will consider, or whatever, I remember when I had the lawsuit going, or threatening a lawsuit against the Reapportion Commission in 2000, and we said, you're supposed to consider X, and the guy said, we consider it, we don't care about it, we're not going to do it. So having may, the words may, with consult, or and may consider, and will allow them to have input means absolutely nothing when it gets down to the bottom line. And that's the problem with HRS 171C. It's so broadly written that anything can be done, and if the county residents don't care about it, it doesn't matter. If they want to take the water, and DWS, water supply, says, no, you're going to damage the aquifer there, doesn't matter, because this law, as it stands on the books, allows the PLDC to do anything they want. Anything. Now, someone testified that they heard somebody, one of our legislators at the state, say, oh, we're gonna build parks. This bill is designed for parks. I wish that were true. And they can build parks. But here's, if you just want to build parks, tell me where commercial, residential, timeshare, hotel, office space, business facilities at rates or charges determined by the corporation fits into our park. Those are not park-type activities. Now, leisure activities. Number 11 on my bill said they want to assist developmental. That's undefined. Recreational, I think we all figured that one out. And visitor industry related enterprises. Let me tell you what the translation of that is. Resorts. We've just lost one of our major hotels in Kona. And it's going to be a big detriment to our community. And it's to nobody's fault. It's just that it's not viable financially and it's closing down. The last thing we need to do is build these more mega resorts that we cannot fill. I don't know that you can bring enough people from certain places on the planet to fill up what they're planning to do. I would much rather see a honeybee operation. By the way, I'm a former hobbyist honeybee keeper, so I'm very, very familiar with everything that the honeybee industry is dealing with here. But we cannot allow our lands to just be taken. Now, and I'm not even getting into the seized or ceded land issue. Even without that, we are in big, big, big trouble with this. The EISs are avoided. It violates the constitutional general plan and the CDP, where they exist on this island. There's a complete lack of transparency. Your local elected officials have absolutely no say and no control. Therefore, you have no say and no control. Well, Mr. Haraguchi said that, they're not gonna, none of these things that they're gonna eventually do will fix the problems that we have with lack of police, lack of fire, insufficient number of, not lack of police, insufficient numbers of police and firefighters and insufficient roads and all the traffic congestion. He said it may alleviate some of this. I haven't seen a resort yet that alleviated traffic problems that we've got over on my side of the island. I don't know about over here, but Banyon Drive was awful tiny compared to the kind of problems that you're going to have that Kona is experiencing. Shopping centers, I don't see those alleviating any traffic issues either. Now, most legislators in this state are very, very good people, and they mean well. But most of them live on Oahu. They are not conversant with the problems that the neighbor islands have, with lack of services, lack of a lot of things that we all know we need. And you've got 2/3 or 3/4 or whatever the number it is of legislators coming from Oahu, and only maybe 20–25% of the legislators coming from the neighbor islands. Our voices are not going to be heard. We will be outvoted by whoever is taking care of the Honolulu people. I'd like to comment on the presentation this council received. I think it's about a year ago. And I gotta tell you, when I first heard this proposal, I really was feeling very sick to my stomach. But we were told, please wait till the rules come out. We're gonna take care of all these issues, and it's all gonna be hunky-dory. Well, the draft rules came out, and I went to one of the meetings, and not one person there stood up and said, oh, we think this is a fabulous plan. Everybody stood up and said, this is the most horrible thing we've ever heard, and people were incensed, absolutely incensed. I am not stirring a pot here that isn't brewing already all over the state of Hawaii. If you even start to talk about Hawaiian gathering rights and Hawaiian traditional rights and all of those things, which I'm frankly only a little bit trained in, nothing like maybe Mr. Pilago would be, or a Native Hawaiian would be, but I'm offended for these people that these rights are going to be taken away. So, no amount of rules are going to make up for legislation that is so broadly written as to allow anything to happen, especially when all the decisions are made in Honolulu. We all know we have enough problems with the state agencies not being receptive to the things we want and need here, much less they don't even have the money. I understand they want to make this a money-making proposition, but at the expense of our land and our residents here, not good enough. I'm going to ask the council to continue to support repeal of the PLDC in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. You have the floor. Please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you,
Martin.
Mr. Chair. Congratulations to Ms. Ford for introducing and to this council for approving unanimously. Within 1 week of this council approval, Kauai felt encouraged and followed suit and went ahead with their application to appeal also. They took heart with what Hawaii County's stance was, because originally they had only planned on amending the HRS. So we were against that, and we're encouraged that they followed suit. We are in communication with Maui. We hope Maui passes their resolution to repeal this HRS on Friday. So we'll be continuing our discussions with Maui council members to move that through. I'll be meeting next week on the 12th on Oahu to try to encourage Oahu to join the rest of the county councils and the rest of their communities to take a stand to repeal Chapter 171C of the HRS. What it does is the HRS empowers the PLDC, and if we repeal that, we would take away the ability for it to operate. So we need you folks help on that, and that is the strategic and the structural moves that we hope to undertake. this week and next week also. Again, we congratulate Ms. Ford for her forthrightness, for her astuteness in moving this at this time, and to this county council for supporting this community. And we hope all the county councils will encourage their mayors and their governor to repeal this and use that as a force to encourage the legislators to work together with everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pilago. Before I call on Mr. Onishi, Mr. Hariguchi, could you come forward, please, to the table? I forgot to bring you forward at the beginning, sorry. Thanks for being here. Mr. Onishi, you have the floor.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I was going to do, to bring up Mr. Hariguchi, and he can continue finishing up his comments that he did earlier in his testimony.
You have the floor, Mr. Onishi.
Go ahead, Mr. Hariguchi.
Thank you.
There you go, Mr. There you go.
There you go. All right. Thank you for allowing me to come back up here to finish my testimony. I'd like to just start with several points that I wanted to make clear to all of you. First of all, PLDC was not created, to develop land for the sole purpose of profit. This has been out there, and I mean, I've heard it today, and opponents have brought this up many times. PLDC was created to facilitate partnerships. I believe, I submitted a chart to you, and that chart does signify the first step would be actually a call for PLDC projects. And when we say that, it means that people, the community, nonprofits, businesses would come to us with projects that they would want to see happen, whether it is a park or a community center, etc. These are kind of the projects that we are talking about, and it follows on with the chart and goes through several variations, and I'll get back to some of that as we move along. In any instance, when we when there is a project, any revenues will go back to the title agency. And again, title agency is, I'll just say, give an example. Title agency will be DLNR or DOE, or University of Hawaii, etc. Number two, PLDC is prohibited from selling lands, ceded or otherwise. And people have made comments and still I hear that we'll simply sell the item. Again, this is unwarranted, because we are not going to do that. When PLDC at this point in time does not have anything, well, with the exception of Honolulu Harbor, which the legislature transferred to us in that session. Aside from that, we have no interest in lands. To do a project with the community or with partners or applicants, we would need to seek approval from title agencies for the lands. And the lands that we ask for will come over not in fee simple, but in lease. Therefore, we will never sell the land. This lease will be in perpetuity, and therefore, if it's income, it will be perpetuity income. If it's a park, etc., it'll be there forever. We will not sell the land. I think that's very important. I think many discussions, people have said that we just sell the land, which is simply unwarranted. Number three, the public is left out of the process. We've heard that again, time and time again, and that's truly untrue. If you look at the chart that I sent to you earlier, there are 7 opportunities for the public to give testimony. 7. Initially, I believe it was 3. As we went through the process, now it's 7 opportunities. And one of these opportunities will be that the developer or the partner or the applicant will have their hearing their hearing at or on the island that the project is on. So obviously, if the project is here, we're not going to have it in Honolulu on the hearing. So again, that was an important requests that people made during the public hearing process. So I believe we, address that situation, and they will not be iced out, but have 7 bites actually at the apple. Finally, PLDC is not exempt from environmental and historic preservation review. Just a few minutes ago, I heard that that we won't be following environmental laws. This is totally untrue. And I need to be real clear about this because I hear this often and often. And the law is here. And I will go through this. All projects are subject to Chapter 343, which is the EIS process. It's a law, it's there, we use it. Chapter 342B and 342D, this is water and air pollution. Chapter 342J, which is hazardous waste. Chapter 6E, historic preservation. Chapter 92, which is the sunshine law. Chapter 104, wage schedule. And HRS 171-64.7, which restricts us from selling or ceding lands without obtaining legislative approval. I believe it's 2/3 vote in the House. That's it. So, at times it's mind-boggling to me that people continue to bring up these issues, saying that we can do anything we want, we can do without the EIS process, but it's here. We follow it, and we will do what is required and necessary.
Mr. Rishi?
Mr. Hariguchi, I guess this is the chart that you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So maybe you can explain to the council members, like, in what steps where the I guess the public would have comments, will be able to give comments, because I think some of them didn't follow what you were saying.
All right. And so we didn't number it, but as you look at the top left-hand corner, where it says call for PLD projects. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the call where we are not going out there. The public will come to us with projects. This can be community, again, I just reiterate, community folks, non-profits, businesses. They will come to us to tell us, basically, that they are interested in a project. They want to put up a community center or something like this. They'll come to us for that. Now, I'll call this number 2, going to the right. Applicants submit the project application. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The PLDC administrator will review it for completeness. Next step, preliminary approval of the title agency.
Mr. Hariguchi?
Yes.
I think what Mr. Onishi asked is what step of the process do you have public input?
Okay.
So let's just look at the top row.
Okay.
So that's the second
Fine.
one, right?
Now it'll be the fourth, which is the prelim approval of the title agency. And the next line, first one, PLDC board approves lease/MOA with title agency. And next one would be right next to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we start over again? I'm sorry. The arrows go the other way, so it would be easy to understand. The first one again is the preliminary approval by title agency. And moving to the right, down and to the left, prelim approval from PLDC board. And moving on to the left again would be the title agency approves lease/MOA with PLDC. And the last on the top 2 lines would be PLDC board approves lease/MOA with title agency. As we go down to the left column, there's 3 opportunities. First would be PLDC approves the project partner. Down to the left column, it'll be PLDC board approves final project. And lastly, on the right bottom, PLDC board approves project partnership agreement and lease terms. So that's 7 opportunities. The next column follows the same sequence where PLDC approves project application as partner, PLDC board approves final project, and lastly, PLDC board approves project partnership agreement. And on the far right, we have just one opportunity in addition to the 4 that's above that. So that's 5 opportunities that the public will have a chance to testify. And in that case, it's to do because it's a shorter process because it deals with leases.
Okay, thank you. My next question would be, is PLDC, does it mirror any other agencies that we have or the state has right now that is doing business?
Yes, there is. I'm sure you're all familiar with agencies, HHFDC, Hawaii Housing Climate Development Corporation, that does all the affordable housing. I'm sure they've done a lot of projects here and the rest of the neighbor islands. HCDA and DHHL and others have very similar, not the same powers that we do.
Do you want to kind of give a little bit more, like, or you want to compare, like, any, like what you have here today to any of the agencies?
Yes, in my testimony, which will make it easier for members, I've listed a lot of the exemptions, not exemptions, I'm sorry, the guidelines that we abide by. And I did go through it earlier as far as what we need to comply with. And it's very similar, as I said, to the other agencies, and I'll go through it real quickly. These are all Hawaii revised statutes. Again, Chapter 343, which is the EIS. 6E, Historic Preservation. Chapter 92, Hawaii Sunshine Law. Chapter 104, Range Weight Schedule. HRS Sections 171.64, which is the prohibition of sale of ceded lands. PLDC would pay OHA and ceded land revenues as required by HRS Section 10-13.5. I'm just looking down. The next one maybe not as far as ownership, maybe with other agencies like HHFDC, because they would probably have some sales in fee simple. That's good.
Do you have any further?
Yeah, I got a couple one more.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the other question was, okay, you just heard a comment from the council member that the PLDC can do anything that people want. So you want to clarify on that?
Yeah.
Or make a comment on that?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. PLDC can't do anything by itself. Let me just say this. We, PLDC, cannot unilaterally proceed by itself. We don't, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any lands to develop, and if we do obtain management rights from, say, DOE or DLNR or DOT, it's a process that we need to follow thereafter. And one of the process, and I've heard this time and time again, that yes, we need to work. We said that we need to work with this county. And simply, and that's so true. We're exempt, but I met with the planning department here, on Oahu, and it is so clear that we need to have an understanding with them, because they control the water, they control the sewer. We look at the roads after you're done. If it's not expected, you can't turn it over. And I was at HHA before. I did a great part in the village of Kapolei. I know the holes that you fall into. So today, some of the roads are not dedicated. So these are the issues that I'm very aware of, that we need to work with the county. There's no two ways about it. And I'm not just saying this to say it. I'm saying, it's something that needs to be done. It needs to be a collaborative discussion with them. They say if they don't have water or sewer, the project dies. That's simple as I can put it.
Thank you. My last thing is, councilmembers, is that you need to understand that this agency, yes, it's not like a state agency like, say, DHHL. It's a independent agency, but working with DLNR, because on the board isn't the
Director is.
director is one of the board members, right? But then the thing is that other agencies right now, like for example, like Mr. Hariguchi mentioned was that the HHFDC, DHHL, they already have these certain permits that they're exempt from, and that they can do, they can process the permitting faster. Okay, and then just to let members know too that I went to a couple of these meetings in Honolulu when this thing was coming up, and basically what I understood was when they came up with this was to kind of speed the process or to get the state land, because the state doesn't know how much land they really have. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a number out there. We talked about 1.4 million acres. As part of our optimization plan, and as far as efforts by legislators also, we are in a process of coming up with an inventory plan.
And with this agency, to me, that's when DOE will know how much land they have, but our airports will know, and so forth. And that's when they can decide, okay, how they can get things developed. But then, as we all know, to government, we don't have enough money. So that's where we need this partnership between private and public. And for example, one council member wants to do like a 4-year college in Kona, and they were looking at private funding. So this is the kind of stuff that we're looking at, and this is what they were talking about, to kind of fast track things so that, and at that time the economy was down, so they were looking at how we can create more jobs faster and using these lands that are being available. And like, for example, why I got involved, or why I was interested, because I was looking at Banyon Drive. Because at Banyon Drive, we do have one lot that there was a hotel that got burned down, and right now it's a vacant lot. So with that, hopefully we could get someone to come in and utilize that property, and that way we could get maybe a new hotel, like a 4-star or 5-star hotel coming up to help with the tourism that's coming in, because we have this one flight from LA coming into Hilo direct, but we don't have enough accommodations. But then also across the street of that, you have this golf course that's not being really used. And that's a lot of property that could be also looked at as being developed. But I'll yield at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any council members like to speak in this side? That haven't spoken.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, very good. Go ahead, Mr. Hoffman. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've listened with some interest regarding Mr. Haraguchi's explanations, and some of them I clearly agree with. Let's go back, though, and remember where we are with this particular issue. When this was first proposed to us by Senator Dela Cruz some time ago, and we had that discussion in council, I pointed out at that time that several of the aspects of this issue seemed to raise questions regarding the accommodations that the county could make in respect to its own laws regarding land use, regarding environmental concerns, and so forth. And at that time, we were told, of course, that we're going to provide the rules and the administrative policies and so forth that would flesh those particular questions and concerns out. We waited for that particular type of set of rules, and the ones that were drafted and proposed clearly have raised serious concerns by members not just on this island, but obviously on Maui and Kauai as well. I refer also to the testimony that my state senator, Malama Solomon, provided regarding this particular issue. She said that she'd like action deferred on this, but that there is a strategic plan for the agency that's been prepared. I'm very pleased to note that, and that it's being reviewed for possible adoption, and that there'll be a series of meetings again that changes later this month and in early November. Council members, I understand, and personally, I'm not opposed to a PLDC concept. I believe that there's some very good use to have some overall agency provide the direction and control that we need to develop state lands, regardless of where they are and under what considerations could be made. Nevertheless, while I certainly would like to see this resolution modified, I will support this resolution because I think it sends a very strong message to the people involved that this county does have serious concerns regarding the nature and quality and the control and scope of what the PLDC initially is offering the citizens of the state. I'm aware of the governor's issue regarding to speed up the process, and I've had a conversation with the governor regarding this point alone, and I think he's right. We've sort of managed to get ourselves wrapped around a whole series of issues regarding any number of things that have, in many instances, denied or at least seriously slowed down completion of much-needed projects. There are any number of those issues here on or projects on this island that are also in that particular category. But in no case, because we want to speed this up, do we sacrifice some basic elements of county control and issues that are a concern to this community. I do not understand the state's issue and effort to try to pursue this particular policy when there has been such an outcry by citizens throughout the state. It's not just the Big Island that's talking about this. And again, while I remind people that I'm not definitely opposed to the PLDC concept, I do want to see it in concert with other state and county laws that I think are important. Finally, I think it's necessary to send a strong message, as Hawaii has and as Maui is considering, to make certain that those changes and policy rules that Senator Solomon pointed out in her testimony, her written testimony, that will be done in later this month or early November, are actually followed through. I'm sorry, Mr. Hariguchi, I'm not exactly a great fan of DLNR when they say they're going to work with us and we're never going to do something, and boy, we don't want to see that happen and we'll follow all the rules. I'm very much concerned, for instance, as you continue to point out, that Chapter 343 regarding EIS will be adhered to. Well, it'll be adhered to now, but there's a strong undercurrent in the state legislature that wishes to do away with that. And we've had a number of legislators indicate that their support of trying to speed up the process and eliminate EIS once more. I again recall for council members the status of the Super Ferry, which I thought was a reasonable project that was doomed from the start because we didn't decide to follow the laws that were on our own books. Council members, I support Ms. Ford's resolution. Yes, I'd certainly like to see some changes, but I'll support it because I think this council and this county must send a very strong message to the PLDC that we want to see this done properly, we want to see it done effectively, and we want to make sure that the wishes and concerns of the residents of this island are heard and are acted upon in the future when further projects are actually recommended. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hoffman. We are utilizing the time, so when you hear the beaver, that's 5 minutes. Now, before I go to Mr. Pilago, is there any council member that hasn't spoken yet that'd like to speak at this time? See none. Mr. Pilago, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the second opportunity. I'll be brief. Thank you, Mr. Hariguchi. I have two things to discuss with you in communication 843.4, your submission. And I also have one comment regarding communication 843 from Senator Malama Solomon. One of the things you mentioned that gave you strength is the EIS. Are you aware, sir, of the CIS amendment regarding Act 50, that all EISs within the state must have an addendum with the CIS?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't.
Please include that in your discussions and your research, sir. I think it's pertinent to your EIS. And if you move projects through, thank you again for your floor chart. It has 24 blocks, and if you look at number 6 of the floor chart, upper right, in regard to county reviews, infrastructure, reviews and comments. Are you presupposing that this county will implement and put in place your water, power, roads, and sewer?
No. That block simply tells us that we need to meet and discuss with the county as to whether infrastructure is available for that project.
Well, if we move the project through, we would have to have those things. Are you looking at a funded mandate?
Funded by the county?
Funded by the state.
Well, funded, yes, but in this case, it'd be funded by, the state, the developer.
Because, you're keeping us off the loop again, and I find that, unpleasant. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, can you explain off the loop for me so I can just understand that?
So if I commit only to review and comment with respect to infrastructure, as you know, you will not build infrastructure, we will. I'm just wondering who you think will be paying for it, and who will be conducting that work for you.
Well, yes, again, I expected the applicant or the partner to do that when it comes to the development of the project.
Okay, that's something I have deep concerns about. The other one again is the CIS. Are you aware of that, legislative access, the addendum of the CIS onto the EIS?
No, I mentioned to you that I did.
I would advise you look at that stuff, so we don't run across super ferry issues or rail issues or Waihau church issues. Thank you very much. In respect to Malama Solomon's communication, Mr. Chair, communication 843, the senator asked that this council defer action on this resolution, or at least the comment is deferred. I would urge this council to stay the course and not defer, because all we're looking at is an attempt to amend. And I would ask that this council stay the course, stay strong, and let's move to Ms. Ford's resolution to repeal.
Ms. Ford, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Mr. Hariguchi has admitted to us that lands won't be sold, they'll be just leased in perpetuity, which means they'll be gone forever for anything that we residents of this county might want. If there's a choice between a resort on our shoreline that we don't want and a park that we do want, let me think about this for half a second. Which one is going to be chosen by the PLDC? The one that generates more revenue, because it's a revenue generation plan. The whole thing was written so broadly as to streamline all of our processes. It specifically states in HRS 171 that they can exempt themselves from any zoning, land use, any issue. If they were going to say, well, we're going to exempt ourselves from this particular thing, it might be okay, but it's a very broad, and they specifically name all the things they're going to be exempting themselves, or potentially could exempt themselves from. Second, let us get back to Hawaii County. How much control does this council or any future council have over our planning department and the decisions they make? Not a lot. We get rezoning, but when it gets to the subdivision phase on a property that's already zoned for something, we, the council, have no control at all. None. And that's the problem. Now we're going to be another step removed. It's going to go to the state, and beyond that, the PLDC. Now, the PLDC might have to go to the state legislature and get them to vote on something. Are we going to get this land for development? Are we going to do a certain project on this land? There are those considerations that have to be taken care of. Again, I remind you, who controls the most votes at the state legislature? It's not this island. We just had a knockdown drag out to get our fourth senator on this island that we legitimately deserve. Kauai doesn't have enough people. Even Maui doesn't. All three of us together don't have enough to control what can be determined out of Honolulu. We have trouble getting state agencies to even hold meetings on this island for things that affect this island. The fact of saying we're going to have meetings out here, well, let me tell you, the meetings a lot of times take place in Hilo when the project's in Kona. Now, that is not transparency, and it's not easy for us to deal with. So I urge this council, repeal this thing. If they really want to do this, start over and do it right. And leave the councils in control of the county. We are responsible to the people. We get ourselves elected or unelected based on what we do for the people of the island, not just the district. So please, repeal this, send the message. It's got to be a whole lot better than this. Thank you.
Mr. Onishi, I acknowledge the light, however, Ms. Swart hasn't spoken yet, so Ms. Swart, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Hariguchi, for being here today. Please understand the concerns of the people. When something moves through the state legislature that quickly, and then these rules come out. People don't know what's going on, and then they hear about it, and they read it, and the rules are so vague that of course they're going to be very concerned. And I completely echo Mr. Pilago's concern about the infrastructure. Is this going to be an unfunded mandate? Is the state going to provide funding for it? You're going to expect the project people to do the infrastructure to it. What is that going to look like? What burden is that going to be on our resources? We're going to obviously have to contribute to some extent, especially if we're talking police and fire. You may be bringing water to the project districts or electricity, but there's other infrastructure needs that we do have the responsibility to cover. We cannot ignore the views of the people here. And someone added me to the Facebook PLDC page. My email blew up. In fact, I had to have my staff remove me from the group because that page was so active. We were getting 30, 40, 50 new emails every 5 minutes about people commenting, posting videos, going to the meetings, writing their views on what they learned from the meetings. There's still a lot of confusion about this, and you know what makes people really nervous? The fact that this was fast-tracked so fast. Nothing moves through the state legislature this quickly. Nothing, except this. And that's causing a lot of concern. So, when I spoke last time, and I first learned about this presentation, or we learned through the presentation about a year or so ago, I, in my head, envisioned something along the national parks. I talked about that last time. The need for an art center on Volcano National Park. I love that feature. Having a little rustic lodge on the in Volcanoes. I like that as well. And if that's what this were limited to, I would be much more supportive of it. And I gotta say, Mr. Reese, I actually really like KOA campgrounds. I spent an entire summer in them. But your point is well taken. Is that really what we're looking for here? Is that what we want here? And I do have the concern, as Ms. Ford stated, about Oahu making the decisions for our island. And while there is 7 points of public participation, in what capacity are those going to be considered, responded to, addressed, having rule changes, having policy changes? It's one thing to come forward and be heard. It's another to actually have it be responded to. And in what form is that going to be? I'm going to be supporting moving this forward as well at this point. I understand there is a request for a postponement from the state legislators, but I think that we are still continuing to send a strong message. I think the residents are very clear on where they stand on this issue, and I hope that you're at least taking these concerns and will use that to modify your rules. Maybe there's going to be another resolution later on saying, okay, well, maybe you did a little bit better, you did listen to us. I don't know. But at this point in time, what we see now on the floor is causing a lot of concern, and people are worried. Thank you.
Mr. Onishi, thank you. Mr. Hariguchi, would you want to kind of make a comment about you talking about how it was fast-tracked to the legislature, which I think it wasn't. It took a while. It went through the legislature, and then to get the board members and to get to the executive director, it took a long time too. And then to get just to set down the rules, I think the board had to set some rules first, right, to get the executive director in there, right? So
Okay, real quickly, but I just want to make this one correction. I know I did say about perpetuity, I used the word, but it's land ownership held in perpetuity, I'm sorry, just to correct that. As you all know, the Act 55 was passed in 2011, I believe about June or July. The governor signed the act. Thereafter, it took till the end of the year, December 15. I say December 15 because that's when I came on board, December 15. And it was just myself, no staff at that point in time. And maybe 3-4 months down the line, down the road, I got some staff, some help, and was also able to get help from HCDA and HHFDC to start the rules process. There was some beginnings on the rules before I came on board, but then when I came on board on December 15 and to today, we've gone through obviously the rule process, which is the public hearing process. So we went to the neighbor islands and started here actually, and we the stage that we're at right now is, we've gone through, as I said, the public hearings. We've listened, we revisited the rules itself, and on October 11th, I'm sorry, let me just go back and say the rules are done. In addition to that, we did the strategic plan, which I believe all of you had copies of. If you don't, we'll get it to you. But we believe that the strategic plan was very important in how that ties in with the rules. So both of these items will be brought forward to our board on October 11th. First one is to approve the strategic plan, and the second is to approve the draft rules to take it out to public hearing. So it'll be the second time that we'll be going out and doing a public hearing on the rules. And that's actually where we're at today. There's no projects on board. People talked about projects before. We mentioned early on, but those projects have been deferred. So as of this date, we don't have any projects on board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, they mentioned about infrastructure, and like I say again, other agencies, like for example, DHHL, their property, when they lease to say a private developer, the private developer is required to do the infrastructure. And it's kind of like in the same relationship as what they're trying to do, is that they have the state lands, they want to go into a partnership, and they'll have that private partner to do the infrastructure if there needs to be any. But just to kind of let people know again, bring you guys back to what other agencies are doing, and it's almost the same thing. Like I said, it's almost like a mirror of the same. Okay, we talk about long-term leases. For example, in Hilo, at the Noilihua Industrial Area Association, okay, in that area you have ceded land, which is Hawaiian Homes land. We have also state land, and we also have free simple land. And Sekera can vouch on this because he has property there. Okay, but on the state lands, what the leases wanted to do was to have long-term leases, because what they want to do is, in order to develop or to renovate their warehouses, they want to make sure that they can get their money back. But if you do like a 10, 15-year, 20-year lease, when you put money into your building, you're not going to be able to make your money back. So they need that 20 or the 30 to 50-year leases. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, the leasing part, that they need to cope their losses, their expenses. And so, like I said, like when I was looking at, like say down at Banyon Drive, like if say Sheraton want to come in and develop on that open parcel right now, we gotta give them like a 20-year lease to get back their money for building that hotel. We're gonna have to give them maybe like a 60-year lease or 75-year lease so that they can cope their money back, to get back their money. Okay, now another thing that council members are mentioning, and I think you guys gotta really think about this, or you guys gotta go visit the legislature more often, because on the Senate side, we have the power to outer islands, okay, because the Senate president is from Maui. Okay, it's not from Honolulu, he's from Maui. Okay, so I think you guys gotta go and visit the legislature more often to see and talk story with them. Thank you.
Okay, I see no further lights. So anyone else wanna speak, before I make my final comments and we'll go to the vote? Okay, let me just say a couple of things here. First of all, Mr. Hariguchi, the uproar that has been felt throughout the state of Hawaii, I mean, we gotta pay attention to that. Obviously, that didn't happen because someone just turned on the switch and said, hey, let's all get out and get everyone excited and start to protest the state. It happened for a reason, and I think it sounds like what the department is doing is going back and taking a look at these comments and try to come up with maybe amendments to the rules that would help address some of those stuff. But let me just say that I haven't seen an act of the state that has received this type of backlash from the people, not only here in the county of Hawaii, but throughout the state. So there's something that we gotta, I think you folks really need to go back and take a look at to see what we can do to avoid these types of problems, because it's not enjoyable to have to come out in a public forum like this, to protest our own government. People have better things to do, but when they are inclined or compelled to do so, we've got to ask ourselves why. That's number one. Number two, a couple of words that I heard today, I think from Mr. Onishi and from yourself as well, and others, we talked about fast track. We're talking about streamline. And I think one time or another, as council members, we all look at that as things that we need to do to help with the economy and so forth, and to help with processes. I look at fast tracking a DMV process so we don't have long lines out there. I look at fast tracking, maybe the permitting process for photovoltaics, when nearly 65 to 70% of the permits taken today has to do with photovoltaics, and yet we have such a long process to get that done. I take a look at fast tracking maybe the health studies for the folks in Puna, that live next to the geothermal plant. We need to get that done instead of just continuing to talk about it. That's the kind of stuff I think we should be fast tracking. What you cannot fast track, and what you gotta be very careful with, is when we're talking about fast tracking land use. That, because land use is in perpetuity. The decision that you make on land use is in perpetuity. It's like the geothermal plant, in perpetuity. And the way I look at it, the only control that the people of each county has, the only strength we have, because a lot of our laws is governed by state or federal jurisdiction. But what the county has been able to hang on to, but is slowly eroding and losing, is the control of land use. Through legislation at the state level, we're losing that. But that's the only control that we have, that this body has, that is of great significance, that allows us to dictate or determine what our future is going to be here in the land, in the island that we live on. And that's where the word home rule comes in. Home rule and land use. Look up the word home rule in dictionary, you'll see the word land use. I'm just kidding, you won't. And vice versa. But the point is this here. The county council, for us and for the people that live here locally and throughout Kauai and these other islands, it's a concern about losing that control, and we can't do that. Now, obviously, this is a resolution that we passed, that Kauai passed, that hopefully Maui passed, maybe even Oahu. But still, the decision is still rests with the only people that can repeal this is the state legislature. But what we're going to do is continue to send a message, because there's something wrong with the process. There's something wrong with what has been developed thus far. And until you guys correct that and can sell it to the people in a proper format, in one that the people can understand and gravitate to and accept, we as a local body, the governmental that is closest to the people of the island, we gotta say repeal. And so I will be supporting the resolution to repeal. So with that said, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Blas?
Aye.
Ms. Ford? Aye. Mr. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mr. Ikeda? Mr. Onishi? Mr. Pilago?
Aye.
Ms. Smart?
Aye.
Ms. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Yagong?
Aye.
Mr. Ikeda? Chairman, you have 9 members voting aye.
What was Mr. Nishi's vote? Okay, we didn't miss a second. Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, let's move to page 5. Let's take out the Bill 292, please.